Are you trying to tell me that the fucking music from the rocking horse penetrated a secret Russian lab 4 fucking floors below ground? That somehow the
it's
sound
so
carries
funny.
so well. Like, that to me is one of the big story inconsistencies. It's like, let's just throw it out there and see if people will buy it.
Original geek, that's who I am. Rolling 20s with my squad, we got a plan. Marvel heroes on the wall, D&D dice in hand. Original geek, across the land. Level up, never gonna give it up.
All right. Hey, welcome to Original Geek. This is the all geek culture podcast for anyone who grew up on Star Wars marathons, D&D in the basement, retro video games, and every pop culture obsession that built the fandom multiverse we live in today. We're going to break down science fiction, fantasy, comics, horror, gaming, and every geeky moment that shaped us, served with sarcasm, nostalgia, and zero gatekeeping. And whether you're a Gen X, millennial, or just geek curious, grab your dice, grab your snacks. Welcome to the basement. I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, and we'll be your string of Christmas lights blinking across today's interdimensional barrier. What's our topic today, Steve?
Well, today we're going to talk about Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
The much anticipated season 5
Coming.
is
This
coming
it.
up that feels like it's taken forever.
It has, actually.
I have the timelines. The first season came out in 2016. Second, 2017. Third was 2019, a little bit of a break. And then season 4, May and then July of 2022. So it was, my math is mathing, 3 years between seasons 3 and 4. And now we're another 3 years between
So
4 and 5.
But that's something for much later in the podcast.
Just
giving you a glimpse of what I consider an epic fail.
oh, there we go. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's got its pros and cons. I think they've tried to roll with it, but we'll dig into that part of it later. So, just a quick recap. If you haven't rewatched, Jeff's gone through 1 through 4. I'm halfway through season 3. I haven't gotten quite all the way through. I had seen them before. I'm just not on back my rewatch.
Yeah, you mean rewatch. I watched them. I was behind, but I finished season 4 recently, even though it came out years ago. So,
Well, it's one of those things too. And again, I don't want to dig too deep, but right when there's that much time, you know, it's like when we were reading Robert Jordan's books when he was still publishing them, the Wheel of Time books would come out, and they're great. And I'd rather have him take your time the way he did, and they were phenomenal books. But it would sometimes be 3-4 years between books, so you'd have to go like, what the hell? And we'd read other books in between. So you have to go back and reread, and same thing, like you sort of lose where you were. So you also lose that drive to jump back in. It's like, oh, it's, you know, it's going to take forever to finish.
Well, yeah. And, yeah, for me, as I was watching these recently, and I could not help but think, how has this not been one of our first things that we did on this podcast?
Stranger Things?
Stranger Things is so Gen X. It is Gen X to the core. It's us in a TV show. Friends were like that. The Dungeons and Dragons, and then, or how do we not like make references like season 4? We talked about the Satanic Panic, in episodes past, and that was a big part of season 4. Was that Satanic Panic.
Jeff, it's even worse than that. We've talked about how I got the idea and I got the name from a bit that I do. In the bit that I do, I actually reference the show and say that if you didn't know what it was like to grow up a geek in the 80s, there's a show you can watch that's sort of a documentary of our life. And you might have seen some episodes on Netflix. It's called Stranger Things. Literally the basis for all of this is the idea that Stranger Things is a perfect illustration of who we are. So
yeah, like this group of geeky friends getting together. There's always usually one spot they go to play D&D, right?
and it was the kids' basement.
Yep.
They were at Mike's house all the time.
Too
And that,
funny.
so I'm excited because, and again, I haven't gotten back to season 4, but I have watched some recap videos and read some synopsis because I wanted to make sure I was as prepped as I could be for today anyway. But, you know, season 1 and 2 were very much, you know, D&D tied. There was Demogorgon, there was Mind Flayer. Season 3 is this building of a kind of an ooze, I guess. And then Vecna, of course, in season 4, and apparently the big bad of season 5. So they keep the D&D tie-in. But I think that's sort of core to the heart of the story, and this is where the kids get all their knowledge. But there's a lot going on. When they get back to the town at the end of season 4, there are big holes. Like they contain it in 1, they contain it in 2. 3 and 4, or 3, they mostly contain that the mall gets destroyed to some degree, but in 5, at the end of 4, I guess into 5, forget it. The word is out. So I'm interested to see how they're going to handle what that's all about.
You know, I also don't like that they ripped off one of my campaigns I did with the Rudar party in D&D with our party, because the gates open up in the town, and I did the same thing in Rudar with the 6-fingered hand, and you were trying to defeat it,
right?
And the gates opened up and Hellspawn came out, and you had to fight that off. So I mean, I'm just saying, I might have a case against the Duffer Brothers. I gotta dig that
I don't
out.
remember any Duffers in high school, but it doesn't mean they didn't change their names to protect the innocent.
I know. How dare they? Now, of course, I freely ripped stuff off. I'm sure the 6-fingered hand, now that I think of it, was
Princess
probably
Bride?
from, there was a Marvel comic series called The Defenders, which is nothing like the Netflix series. It's had like Doctor Strange, had a lot of mystical elements to it. And I remember being a bit influenced by that comic book. And there was like, I think there was a 6-fingered hand thing in that. So,
Oh God, the first thing I thought of course, was Princess Bride, the 6-fingered, the man, the
Yeah.
6-fingered hand.
No, that was not the
six-fingered man.
inspiration. I promise. Although I love, speaking of Princess Bride, I love that how, there's so many 80s tie-ins, and I know that's going to be part of our, this episode is all the 80s stuff, but I loved how they used certain actors from the 80s. Cary Elwes,
Yes.
he was the mayor, right? And then, Paul Reiser, Sean Astin, Matthew Modine, Winona Ryder, Robert Englund, and I saw Linda Hamilton is going to be in season 5.
It's going to be in season 5. Terminator.
That's awesome.
Sarah Connor.
I love that.
It's going to be. I'm actually, and I think more in the rewatch. I was already excited to see it because I'm like, oh goodness, they're finally going to finish this thing off. But yeah, I agree. All of those. I'm actually, like I said, I just got into season 3. I'm like episode 2 or 3. And Cary Elwes as the mayor just popped in, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that he was in it. You know what I mean?
And that's, I have to admit though, when Paul Reiser showed up, I thought, because maybe it's just his delivery is always the same. I was thinking, his Carter Burke character from Aliens, like, no, he's not going to be a good guy. He's going to come across as a good guy.
Yeah,
but he's not going to be a good guy. But he, in the end, is more of a good guy than a bad guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they do a bait and switch by not doing a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Right. By
like,
not
we
giving
know who
us
this
what we
guy
expect.
is.
Yeah.
We're not going to trust him.
Nope.
And then I love, because we talked about Stephen King in the last podcast and how much this show reminded me of Stephen King as well.
Oh yeah.
Like the titles, I think even the titles had a similar font as early Stephen King novels. I think it was like this very deliberate tie-in. Well, I mean, what's his name is reading to Max. He's reading The Talisman in season 4 at the bedside, Stephen King's book.
I haven't gotten back to season 4, but it was in now because I've watched them all jammed in. It was either in 1 or 2. They're at the hospital, and they never show the front of the book, but they show somebody reading a Stephen King book because you see his picture on the back.
No, they did show it because I saw it. It was The Talisman, and I thought that was interesting because The Talisman, for those who might not know, came out in '84. Had a fantasy, more fantasy than horror. So, like I said in the Stephen King episode, that was what I was into. The Dragon came out the same year. He wrote it with Peter Straub, and part of it is a character has to travel to a parallel universe. It's not exactly the Upside Down, because the Upside Down is very dark and dismal, but that whole idea of going from our world into a mirror world, a parallel universe that operates a little differently, called the Territories, which I think gets kind of recycled. And we talked about that too, the Dark Tower. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. So the seasons are. I didn't get a date on season 4 or 5, but they're trying to keep the timeline pretty consistent. So even though there's been multiple years in real time, first season was 83, then 84, 3 was 85, 4 was 86.
And I think this is 86 as well, right? Because it picks up right where...
It must be, yeah, because they do say it picks up right where 4 leaves off.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be 86.
So the hard part for me, and I guess we'll dig in later to that part, but I have some timing issues, which I think is what you were talking about too.
Should we do a flashback?
I mean, I was just looking to see, was there anything else we want to talk about before we get there?
Let's flash.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about was the movies, but I think we'll get into that, the movie tie-ins a little bit later. So let's jump in. Let's flash.
Let's take a trip through time. It's a Geek flashback.
All right, so you said it a little bit already, but this show, it was us. It was the Satanic Panic. It was in season 4. Oh my goodness, highlights that to a T.
Oh yeah, that and it's actually kind of funny because I did think about this, and Satanic Panic, of course, it's and I referenced it, I think, in one of our earliest episodes, when there was a D&D club formed at the school that I was at, and it was 1999, and we had to shut it down because the assistant principal was worried about witchcraft and casting of spells. So Satanic Panic, like, because I thought, well, 86, I was a little bit late. It seemed like the Satanic Panic, I think the whole thing with the kid that died in the tunnels or whatever, I think that some of that happened in the early 80s, but it still kept going. And of course, they were just looking for a convenient scapegoat, because that Hellfire Club already existed. They're wearing their T-shirts in the school, and they were more blatant about D&D than I ever would have been in school.
Yeah.
I would not have been that upfront, like, oh yeah, I'm proud of this.
No, but been hiding that. And I forget the character's name, the kid with the long hair. He could have been
Eddie.
Jim or Bill or Eddie. He could have just been one of us.
That group, that was close. I mean, so the season 1 group of all the core group of all the geeks, our group was far closer to the Hellfire Club group, which was more diverse. Yeah.
And again, I'm just in season 3, and again, it's 1984, and the mall just opened in town. And so they have this huge mall montage of the girls running through and going shopping. Yeah. And it's all the Borders books and like all the old stores in the background. But that's how, like, we talked about it in the video gaming episode. Like, that's where we lived. That's where social life was.
Yeah.
Especially in early teens, 13, 14, 15, maybe even a little later, because we drove ourselves quite a bit. It was us going to the mall to mostly go to the arcade and go to the hobby store and to buy comics and to buy D&D books and hit the bookstore. At the back in the day, the Fox Run Mall had, 3 bookstores in the mall. Like, if one didn't have it, somebody else had it.
Yeah. Well, and getting CDs at the Sam Goody or whatever it was at the time, I can't remember.
Goodness, yeah.
Yeah,
And the singles.
I thought the same thing. It's funny with that mall scene. I'm like, this, I see this, and it's just so nostalgic. And I love the soundtrack. And there was one song that came on, and I don't know why I liked it so much. The Pointer Sisters' Neutron Dance is not a great song, but I'm like,
that was the montage song, right? The shopping montage?
yes, I like
Yeah.
Neutron Dance. I love this song. And I actually do think it was in, I think it was in Beverly Hills Cop as well, that song. But it was, not a, it doesn't stand the test of time necessarily. I mean, I enjoyed hearing it for that nostalgic feel and that whole idea of going to the mall just to go to the mall. Like, I don't think anyone does that now. I think you go to the mall because you need to shop someplace. Maybe you need to shop a few places. But you don't go there just to hang out.
No, in fact, locally here in New Hampshire, over in Newington, the mall that we grew up with, the Fox Run Mall, is being demolished. They're going to tear the whole thing down, and they're going to build up one of these live, work, play places. It'll probably be amazing when it's done, but it's so like fallen away that people don't even go when they need to. Typically, the only reason I see people at a mall is there's something else at the mall that's not retail related. Maybe it's a restaurant that they like. I have noticed that there's a few malls like in Salem, New Hampshire, closer to the Mass border. Those are like consolidating retailing locations, but even the one in Nashua's got a casino now, right? The one in Salem's getting a casino. Like,
yeah, you gotta give another reason to go there.
Yeah, it's like you can't just go to the mall to go to the mall. And goodness, yeah, just ran around like idiots, and it was the whole day.
And it's so funny because it was they made Kate Bush's song "Running Up That Hill" big again, and I don't think it was ever as big in the 80s as it became because of this show.
Oh yeah.
Because it's when I was in high school, I like to consider myself, because mostly of our friend Kevin Adams, who listened to all this music that wasn't necessarily top 40. Well, he listened to punk and all kinds of different.
No, Kev loved punk and indie rock.
Kevin
and Bill are the reason I know who the Violent Femmes are.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I obviously wasn't that unique, but I like you kind of trick yourself into thinking these things. I'm like, Kate Bush, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Not everyone's listening to Kate Bush. That's my thing. I'm such an independent mind.
We talked about it before too, but like the D&D aspects of the show, in the show they nailed. But I think the fact that this was in the show 10 years ago, we talked about it across a few different episodes, the DMing episode, the original Satanic Panic D&D episode we did. This show is the reason, or one of the big reasons for sure, that D&D has reemerged. Because it felt to me, and hey, I might be wrong, this might just be a weird perspective of mine, but when we were kids, it was niche. To us, it was huge because we did it all the time. And then it felt like in the 90s, in the early 2000s, it sort of just plateaued. It was a game that was out there. Not a lot of people played. Not a lot of people were into it. And then after this show hit, you start seeing more and more popularizing of D&D. Like we talked about it on Big Bang. We've talked about Critical Role, Dimension 20, these live play D&D shows that are on the internet, mostly on YouTube. So I think obviously the technology helped to push that forward too. But
yeah,
I think the show can easily take credit for the spark that brought D&D back, or maybe not brought it back, but pushed it forward even further.
I could take the opposing viewpoint on that, but I'd rather take it on something else. So I'm going to take you to court, Mr. Scarf.
Always trying to prove me wrong.
Yes, I am.
The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court.
All right, so I jumped the gun a little bit, but here's the situation. Did Stranger Things save this nostalgia, or is it exploiting it just to make money? You know, I'm going to keep on with what I was just talking about. This is the show that brought D&D back into the mainstream. I keep saying back. I feel like it went away. Maybe it didn't, but it definitely brought it forward. Millie Bobby Brown, obviously the biggest star jump of all of those kids. Obviously her performances. I was actually rewatching in season 1 and 2 how powerful she was as a 11, 12-year-old kid. Like her scenes were phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? And so you can see why she does well. And now she's, pretty kind of average kid out there in, young 20s and making great. She does make a lot of great content, but she's probably the one that got the biggest boost out of the show. But yeah, everything that we just talked about, from the malls to the D&D, but D&D I think has benefited the most from Stranger Things, other than the Duffer Brothers. D&D has had the biggest, I just think I think it saved a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
What say you, Mr. Shaw?
All right. So, argument that it is exploiting. So, I feel like what can happen or has happened with Stranger Things is the only explanation I can think of that this has taken so damn long. I mean, this shouldn't be taking this long, is exploitation. They're trying to milk every dollar out of this property. And this was not supposed to be a big hit. They shopped this thing around. Network after network turned them down. Netflix said yes, they took a chance. And it was a home run. And I think the next season came out right. One season's 1 year, next season's the next year. And that's the way it should have kept going. And so my argument is that they are trying to exploit this. And the nostalgia factor, I think, at times can be maybe a part of that exploitation, that they're, just trying to, because, as much as I love these songs, sometimes it's just like, oh, let me get another 80s hit in there. Wait, what about, we need a mall. Let's put a mall in. We need a mall scene. We need this. We need, it almost seems like they're doing a checklist of 80s things that they want to make sure they cover and get in there. So yeah, I think my only evidence is how long this thing is taking, because I can't think of any other reason. The pandemic is only an excuse for 1 year. You otherwise this doesn't make sense.
Yes. So I still stand by. I think this show did those amazing things, but I will say, I feel like it did start to suffer from sequelitis. In the 70s, or not 70s so much, 80s, 90s. There was a number of movies, mostly superhero properties, that would come out, but there was like an amazing first one, and the second one was kind of junk. You know what I mean? And I feel like season 3 really is suffering from sequelitis. I think season 1, completely unexpected. I agree. Knocked it out of the park. Season 2 came fast. So oh crap, we had a good formula. Let's redo this formula. Season 3, it really started to become, so I think I referenced this movie before. Adam Sandler made a Christmas movie called 8 Crazy, I guess it's technically a Hanukkah movie, called 8 Crazy Nights. And there's one scene in this movie. I've never walked out of a movie in my life in the theater. I left because it was so bad. I don't even know if he still claims this movie, but there's a scene in a mall where it is literally an advertisement for every store in the mall. They're singing about JCPenney and Radio Shack and the Cookie Place and Andy's. It was literally just songs with names of stores in it.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like season 3 is falling victim to that.
Nice.
So I might have to split my argument into 2 halves. Seasons 1 and 2, solid, kicked everything off. 3 and 4. Here we were thinking you were going to have to say I was right, but now I'm like, wait, I'm turning
I
the
can't
tide
believe
here.
I'm winning again. How is this possible?
I'm gonna call this one a tie because I do think it had all of those positives, but and I'm anxious to see season 5. I do wonder. Season 1 and 2 were so good and so powerful, and people did well off of that. And I know Millie Bobby Brown did a bunch of movies, so I start to wonder seasons 3, 4, and now 5, have those fallen victim to Hollywood? Not so much for the tie-ins and the money making, which of course it's still a money, it's still a business.
Yeah.
But
Well,
is
I
it
went
more
to
about they all have other shit to do?
there's a
Like, I have-
Netflix themed restaurant at MGM Grand in Vegas, and I was there the other week, and a lot of the theming in there is Stranger Things. They had a drink called the Mind Flare, which I almost ordered, but it had cotton candy on it, and I just didn't feel like having cotton candy. And they had a
dare you.
Demigorgon statue. They didn't have like the theming was. I was really hoping it'd be more like a Planet Hollywood, but for Netflix with a lot of artifacts. And no, they just had themed drinks and food, and then some statues, and it's mostly Stranger Things. And so that's why I think, like, I know they're trying this. They see this as this cash cow. They don't want to just you only had a 5-season arc. Well, we're going to make those 5 seasons last 10 years. So, like, I'm sorry, that's not great. I mean, they filmed Lord of the Rings back to back to back, right? And then they released it at a pace. So they could have done all their filming in a tight window and then left a lot of the editing or maybe reshoots as needed. But they could have filmed this faster.
I wonder if that had to do with the kids, though, because that's going to be
They're
one of my
not
problems
kids anymore. That's the problem.
That's my point. That's where I'm heading. Like, when we started, Millie Bobby Brown was literally 11 or 12 years old when she had that first. So in
But you mean so they couldn't do an escalated
they might
shooting
not have been
schedule
able
because
to.
of school?
Well,
dare
I
they?
don't even know if it was because of school, but like they might not have been able to, because kids have different work requirements and restrictions.
Yeah,
like
true.
they might not have been able to do it back to back. But also, again, I don't know, who knows how their structure was when they got this deal at Netflix. Seasons 1 and 2 might have been locked in, but 3, 4, and 5 took some negotiating, and now they know they have a hit. So you know how that goes. Everybody wants more money. Everybody wants so. But with the kids, it's for hits and misses. But in a little while, we're going to talk about some of the really big swings that may not have connected. So stay tuned. We're going to keep moving on that. But yeah, so I think I think the court might have to be a tie slightly against. I didn't think I would acquiesce that way, but I did.
Nice.
Unfortunately, still did all the good stuff, but some of the bad stuff too. But I think it's time to talk some stuff we might have hanging around.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Right.
So my basement treasure, I have little artifacts this time. So I was thinking it was season 3 when the science teacher is painting miniatures very carefully, and it made me think of like the various miniatures that show up. And I thought of our miniatures that we've had over the years. This is a ogre magi missing a hand because these are pewter. And when they come in, this one's only partially painted because I never got around to it. They're this silvery color, and then you've got to paint them. And that one I didn't finish. Now you can get plastic ones that are all painted. And so, this is my I could do about my rant there. You don't have to waste hours of your life painting figurines. You can buy them painted. But
We're going to rant a little later.
I think back on the time that we spent playing D&D, all the prep, painting these figurines, and I'm like, and we've been trying to record this episode, like coordinating our schedules for a week now. Like,
Goodness,
we
yeah.
can't even get an hour to record a podcast. But man, I miss that time frame, that time we had as teenagers back in the 80s, where we could just do this fun stuff and paint figurines and play D&D. So
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that I still have them. I had at one point, I had painted once a frost giant figurine, and it was my favorite paint that I had done. I don't remember if it was Jim or Bill had brought in the whole idea of a dry brushing technique. This was, again, people pre-internet. If someone you knew didn't know how to do these techniques, you just didn't see them. Like, it would be just red. And now you can texture it and underpaint. And I don't know if I still have any. Mine is going to be back to the old D&D. I found my, I'm going to call it my original player's handbook.
that cannot possibly be the original one. That's 3.
This is 3. This is my.
That's your third edition.
This is my third edition. Not even 3.5. This is 3 flat. And it's considered a core rule book. But I realize, as I was looking for that earlier, the lack of basement treasures that I have. Surprisingly enough, for something that dominated so much of our time, I realized that my artifacts have slowly dissipated into probably boxes in the back room or somewhere. But, I'm going to go digging.
Gotta dig about, Indy.
They're digging in the wrong place. But yeah, it was, I don't have a ton for this particular basement treasure other than I agree. Spending all that time for me, though, was part of the fun because we often got together while we were playing. People would be painting, or sometimes we would get together and just hang out and paint. Like, it wasn't always just D&D. So it was another way for us to hang out together, without video calling available to us in 84, 5, whatever it was.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
So talk to me, we can talk a little bit about how the show has changed. We started to talk a little bit about it already.
Yeah. It's funny because I think about, I always wonder, I said, they knew it was going to be a 5-season arc, but I don't know if they did because one thing that didn't work in season 2, at least they got crap for it, is the character 8. I'm trying to think what her, right? She was number 8.
I forgot what I just, it's that one-off episode.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a storyline. So she meets her sister, right? In Chicago, and she gets this kind of goth look, right? And they're semi-criminals, kind of Robin Hood type criminals as they see themselves. And
a little darker than that, but yeah, because they're out there killing people.
So there
are no spoilers at this point. If you haven't seen Stranger Things season 2, sorry, that's on you.
Yeah. So I think in some ways maybe it's good because I agree that wasn't the best subplot that they've had. And I've loved some of the other things that have come up, and like I heard that, and I haven't done as deep a dive as maybe some people who devote a lot of their energy to Stranger Things, but the Steve Harrington character being as strong of kind of almost a father figure to those kids. I knew he's the babysitter. I think that kind of evolved. The Murray character, I don't know if he was always planned to have as strong, like he had that appearance in season 2, right? And then he played by Brett Gelman. Oh my God, he is so good. I love him, that actor. The movie with Will Ferrell, and he's a cop.
The Other Guys.
Oh my God, classic. So anyway, Brett Gelman, awesome comedic actor. He's always playing these bit parts, and I love that they brought him back. He's so good in that scene. And
He's
once
central
again,
to season 4.
and because it's been out for a long time, even season 4, we can spoil it. But as he says, he's learned karate, and he has this fight on the plane. My fingers are like arrows, my arms like iron, my feet like spears. Resist and I will end you. It's so good. It's so good. And that his karate is black belt, like it actually works. I mean, Steve, your daughter is a black belt, and I want, please, a Christmas gift to me would be when we see you in December and your family, please. I need
You
Livy
want her to say those
to
lines?
say my fingers are like arrows, my arms like iron, my feet like spears. Resist, they'll lend you. And then also record that being said at the dojo or studio, whatever. Please.
My goodness, that
So
would be funny.
Overall, I know, like, I think when they miss on something, the good thing about this taking so long is they're able to course correct. You know, the bad part is the kids are adults.
Right.
So
Yeah. So they started at 11 in 84, and it's, or 82, right? So 82 or 83, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, or 86, right? 4 years should have passed.
yeah.
And now those actors were 11 or 12 are now 22.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they're going to play the look change.
I know, because they're in season 4, they're supposed to be freshmen, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Cause they were middle school when we started. So yeah, they are college graduates in real life, not.
And they
just
were
high
like
school
rolling
freshmen.
the dice on these characters. The only one who kind of can get away with it is Dustin. I feel like
he's
that
got
actor
a very baby
looks
face
young. Yeah,
Gatton
baby face. Yeah.
Mazzazos. I never say his last name.
Will, it's like,
No,
he looks
he's like
ridiculous.
it's like the kid who played Neville in Harry Potter. He went from this pudgy little kid to like a damn near supermodel looking dude.
Yeah, because Will is like this little thing, and now he's
So just to go back to that episode in season 2 you were talking about. Now, I did read some stuff about that one as well, because they think they were trying to set up a spinoff that just never happened. So they think half of the reason for that episode and those characters was, here's another character like 11, and it's a grittier, darker view of stuff. So they thought they might give her a show. And I don't know if that was real or if that's just speculation, but it does make sense the way they did it.
yeah.
The only thing I really liked with the way they did it is it was her Luke goes to Yoda moment, right? She goes to see someone who has the same kind of ability, who's more skilled, who's more powerful, and her power and her person grow in that episode from kind of mousy to a little, not superhero, but she does learn to channel that inner anger, her dark side almost, and move that train before she could barely get it to shudder. And, so she had her Obi-Wan or her Yoda moment in that episode. I don't know if it needed to be a whole episode. I don't know how else you would have steered her there without that, but I do
just
agree.
one episode, was it? Wasn't it at least 2?
It was just one episode.
What?
Because I was surprised too. I remembered it because I have done a very condensed rewatch of the first 2.5 seasons. It's like season 2, episode 3 or something like that. It's early in
Oh, I thought
Eleven takes off and does her
was
own little
kind of
journey.
spread out.
So she's gone from Hawkins for the whole season almost. But the episode with the sister is only one episode because she finds her mother, her birth mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah.
And then she goes to Chicago and is with them in another episode. And then after that, she goes back at the end because she realizes she needs to help them because she hears Will.
Sorry, I guess I should have been watching that too. Sorry, I made some assumptions. But one evolution that I was hoping for and we did not get is when 11 gets her powers back in season 4. I was hoping they'd be a little more like she wouldn't have to have a nosebleed every time she used her power.
Right.
Like I was really hoping we'd get past that. And I know, like, and this is obviously a nod to Stephen King, because Carrie, that was the big indicator, right? That anyone that used their powers, they were mental strain, and the strain was symbolized through a nosebleed. But we get it. Like, but let's show her evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have this geek evolution and have her get stronger, so that only in the most extreme, and I know maybe bringing down a helicopter is extreme. Maybe it is. But I'm just like, let's stop with the nosebleeds for every use of her power.
You know, I will say, the train that she moved in season 2 had to be heavier than that helicopter.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like, the helicopter.
The helicopter, and she didn't have to she was bringing it down. She had gravity on her side.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. The nosebleed, and actually in that episode with 8 was still getting the nosebleeds too. Whenever she used her power for the mind, she could make people see stuff. She would mess with people's view of reality, but every time she used hers, her nose bled too. So
Yeah, because because part of it in Carrie was, that's bad. Like, you're overusing your power. Like, you've gone too far and you are going to burn out.
well, and maybe they'll do it in 5, but it would be nice to have seen, like you said, the evolution of her power. She gets stronger, and her mental strength is that my brain is strong enough now, I won't get a nosebleed. And I think we are familiar enough with the character that we don't need a visual representation of when 11 does her thing. Right, we know. It's funny too, because in season 2 we find out her real name is Jane, and I don't think they call her Jane. They always just call her Elle. She's just Elle to them, even though her real name apparently was Jane. Again, so just to keep on the evolution part of it, I think season 3 rather, that might have been the weakest one for me. I'm only, again, a few episodes into it, but it seemed to be the one where I think they had a solid season 1 thought and thought they were going to be done. When it went, they mirrored it with season 2, and they like, ooh, let's branch this shit out. And then when they got 3, they were like, what do we do now? So they went to the mall and they had Russians. It was all pretty, I don't want to call the Duffer Brothers hacky, but it was a little bit hacky. You know what I mean? It was stuff that, it was fun. It's fun to watch. We bring in new characters. But
well, I think what happened in this can happen too, is there's always a willing suspension of disbelief. But I feel like in season 3 and 4, they took for granted that we were going to jump with them, and sometimes it just did not work. That the extent of the Russian operation in Hawkins is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
This whole underground layer that you expect somewhere else.
So much. Like I do not like it when you're asking a little too much of us to put our brains on pause. I'm still entertained and I still want the show. But yeah, I agree. Because it wasn't so in seasons 1 and 2, that we didn't have to put we could accept the reality that they were constructing. It got harder in season 3, and even in season 4, there were some moments I'm like, this is hard to look past as something that makes any sense.
It's that sequelitis. It's when you go from the Batman with Penguin, the old Michael Keaton one, and then the next Batman has like 5 villains because they felt like they had to keep upping the ante. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he should not have been Mr. Freeze, right? It was just to have Arnold say weird one-liners like, chill out. Why don't you chill out?
And for me in season 4, it was 11's regression. She, in season 3, she's all like neon and 80s and fun, and Max has kind of helped her come along out of her shell. And then she goes to California and she's dressed in all hand-me-downs that don't match. Her language skills seem to have devolved. She creates a diorama. She doesn't know how to say it. She doesn't even pronounce it properly. And she sounds like a child. And instead of, her age, which I know she's supposed to be like a freshman in high school, but still.
14 or 15, yeah. But I mean, they're 14 or 15. You don't usually lose language.
Oh.
I mean, granted, she's been through some trauma, so I don't want to take away from their storytelling, but I agree.
But I thought they're like, oh, it's been a few years. No one remember that 11 had more advanced skills or dressed not like a freak. So,
and there were a couple. Well, again, the mall montage episode. Again, it's one I'm currently watching, so it's so fresh in my brain. But when she and Max are running through the mall, it looks like any other 80s teen movie, right? She doesn't look, there's no affect in the performance of stilted, stunted, outcast. She looks just like a regular teenage kid. And I think that's good evolution at that point for her, right? That's what you want. Hey, she's growing, she's learning, she's becoming. So to send her backward.
And I know the argument is, well, they're on tough times. She's getting bullied. That's put her back. But I don't know. It seemed I understand the explanation. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from our conversation, and I want you guys, if you're listening or watching, to weigh in, send us emails, originalgeekpodcast@gmail.com, jump on our socials, Facebook, everywhere, and let us know. We both feel seasons 1 and 2 were stronger than 3 and 4. And some of the story points in 3 and 4 make it hard to suspend your disbelief. A fully fledged multi-level Russian base under a newly built mall. I don't know how someone misses that getting built. I'll be honest with you, but let us know what you think. Jump in and give us your thoughts.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
All right. I think I know where you're heading because you talked about it a little bit already, but I think the fact that a show like this exists, using topics from our life, and I say it as a joke, we've talked about it, we make fun about it, but this was who we were growing up, and we never saw representations of ourselves anywhere in any media. Like the closest, I think, and it was in comedy terms, so it was always still kind of making fun of us, was Big Bang Theory, right? This is the first time where you see these kids just being themselves. Even deep into season 3, Will, who has been through the worst of it, is still can we just play D&D? Do you know what I mean? We didn't have that. So I think just enjoy it, love it or hate it, seasons 1 through 4, whatever.
That's
but
good.
I say this is a show that represents a time, and pretty accurately, as cheesy as season 3 seems to be, it pretty accurately depicts how the 80s went.
Oh yeah, I mean, we make fun of them, this huge Russian operation, but I mean, the Soviet Union was our number one fear. It really does. This show captures Gen X 80s experience totally. And so that would be my message. You want to know what it was like? Watch this. And, the fact that they didn't know what the internet was. We didn't know what that was. There was a movie called War Games. Someday we'll do that one. But most of us just didn't really know what it was. And so it was an episode and they were mystified about the internet. You watch this, it's practically an 80s documentary. It really is.
In season 2, Sean Astin's character, Bob, at the end of the movie, he's the only one that could go restart the power because he knew BASIC.
Yeah.
It's just a silly little twist, but that's how disconnected it. And he had to go to the terminal, which ultimately is what gets him killed. Sorry, again, no spoilers, or all spoilers. Oddly, sorry, funny little side twist. Gianna does classes a couple times a week, so there's one night a week it's just me and Liv, and we watched Goonies the other night. So from old Sean Astin to new Sean Astin.
There we go.
my own
Nice.
little personal evolution. But
It's critical hits and epic fails.
let's do it. Now we can finally talk. All right. I think one of the hits for me, I mean, it's not really a stretch after everything we've been talking about, right? Is the fact that this show did so much for a game that we love and brought it to a point where people have sort of mainstreamed it. You know, I have a bunch of notes here. There's a bunch of other ways to go. You talked about Kate Bush earlier. The character Eddie Munson, it was in my notes. So that character, he was the epitome of one of our friends in high school. I think they just do a great job. I think the tone is even enough throughout all 4 seasons that you get that horror. I mean, we keep referencing Stephen King, and it has that horror. There is some gore, but it's not like some of the 80s movies really were, where it was just like gratuitous stuff, right? But I think the horror tension levels were great. So I think the whole show, but what it did for D&D and, you know, characterizing that part of life, obviously sits warm in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll keep my critical hit fast, and actually even my epic fail fast, because we've kind of explored it a bit, and I know we're running at time here, but the soundtrack, I just love all these songs, and there's a few that I'm like, I got to add that in to my list, because like I said, the Pointer Sisters, they didn't survive, because I listened to cassette tapes then, and then we had CDs, and I didn't buy the Pointer Sisters when we moved to CDs. And when it went to MP3s, I didn't buy a Pointer Sister song. I don't have that in my library, but man, I've been tempted to get that Neutron Dance back, so we'll see. And then my epic fail, we have talked about, I feel like the amount of time they have taken to film this is an epic fail. The only explanation I can think is they want to milk this thing for all it's worth and make as much money as they possibly can, because they cannot get away with the look. They don't look like their age. The age of their characters. It's that the willing suspension of disbelief in season 3, season 4, and season 5. Part of it, the challenge is these actors. Season 3 not as bad, but man, season 4, they just don't look like they're freshmen in high school. That was it.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, my fails really would be the Russian thing. As much as it's germane to the rest of the story, and it does move certain plot points along. If it had been a sub-basement that was sort of if it was like an older, like the fact that it was a state-of-the-art lab with these huge machines, basically mimicking what they did at Hawkins' lab, but as Russians under them all. And it's funny because they do a translation, and now this lab is supposed to be many floors below ground.
Yes.
Right. And so Dustin records this Russian transmission because he's supposed to be talking to his girlfriend over the ham radio.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they hear this music. Oh, what is that music? That's so weird. And it's the rocking horse in the hallway. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me that the fucking music from the rocking horse penetrated a secret Russian lab 4 fucking floors below ground? That somehow the sound carries so well. Like, that to me is one of the big story inconsistencies. It's like, let's just throw it out there and see if people will buy it. So again, willing suspension of disbelief for a different reason. But it's like, there are so many other things they could have done, right? There were other ways to tie a sound in to the recording. But to make it the rocking horse music, which wouldn't have been that loud, like, and the funny part is you don't hear people talking. You don't hear other music playing from the mall having music on. There's no people walking sounds. It's just the horse. Do you know what I mean? So like it just was a really weird way to tie them in and to give them the clue is that it was there. And it seemed kind of like a weak way to do it. I don't know who wrote that episode, but they should be ashamed of themselves. That was a horrible tie-in.
That's good.
Nice. All that said, I can't wait for season 5. Now, in real time, it is Monday night, November 24th, and season 5 drops in 2 days. Hopefully this will hit your ears either shortly thereafter, maybe right before, depending on what my night looks like or tomorrow looks like. But Stranger Things has been a cultural phenomenon no matter which way you pull it apart. And I'm glad we got a chance to chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once again, originalgeekpodcast.com. We have some great merch. I've started to throw out some merch from trying to tie in episode type information. So we have a Tron shirt, we have a Creature Double Feature shirt, we have the Stephen King shirt. And I think one of our new tags has to be "We're all geek down here always." And I will come. I
gotta buy that. I gotta order that.
I gotta order one myself. I love it. And I'm gonna come up with a Stranger Things inspired shirt. I can't do no IP copying here, but we'll come up with something Stranger Things inspired. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.
We'll see you on the upside down, OGs.